What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Last Week in the NBA. For those of you that don't know, this is just a new series that I started where basically I'm recapping what I deem some of the better events from last week in the NBA so that you can start your Monday off right and have all those Monday conversations with people and be like, yeah, I was watching basketball last week. I know what was going on. But anyway, this is a little spreadsheet I use to help keep track of who I think played well in a week so I can talk about everybody. But anyway, we got some moments to talk about. The first one, Malachi Flynn dropped 50 on him, man. For those of you that don't know, because I wouldn't be surprised, Malachi Flynn is a point guard, kind of a quick little speedy dude that he's been in the league for a little bit now. He's had some nice moments, had a couple nice dunks here or there, been bounced around on teams for a little bit, always been more of an offensive player, but he went and dropped a 50 ball for Detroit this week, man. And, a lot of people dropped 50 this week. I saw a lot of people being like, man, if Malachi Flynn can drop 50 in the NBA, we got a problem. I'm like, I think this is just a reminder of how good a lot of these NBA players are, and they all have to play their role, right? There's just such a difference between the 99.9 percentile player and the 99 percentile player, right? And that's the difference. But these dudes can all cook, man. And shout out Malachi Flynn, because he was letting them have it. And also I saw, who was it? Was it like Jalen Brunson or something like that called him Evil Dante, meaning Evil Dante DiVincenzo, because they kind of look the same? They did not compare my man to Waluigi. That's too much, man. That's too funny to me. I've never actually looked at the pictures side by side, but that's so funny. I love it. All right, some of the other 50-point games this week. We saw Devin Booker put up 52 for Phoenix. He was just on a burner in general this week. We had a 52-point game here, a 40-point game, a 25-point game. The Suns have been doing all they can to make sure they stay out of the play-in and just keep on winning games, man. And Booker was definitely a huge part of it. Right now, no play-in for them. Looks like they'd be going up against OKC, which would be a really interesting series, right? This young, great Oklahoma team versus a little more veteran team. These guys, come playoff time, could just snap right into it for all we know and could just start torching everybody. So that could be a phenomenal series. And then we also had Tyrese Maxiell yesterday go for 52. Philly been doing a little bit better as of late. They've won 5 games in a row, which is tied with the Celtics for the longest win streak in the East right now. And Philly, man, they could still work their way back out of the play-in. Obviously, Joel Embiid is back, and we'll talk about that and what that means. But man, they could bump the Pacers back down, because Pacers, they haven't been playing great since they had Siakam. I truly think Buddy Hield leaving was a problem for them. But man, Maxey was on it last night, man. All right, next thing we got to talk about. Paul George was taking ankles this whole week. Apologies about the quality. It's whatever. This is the first video I find, but Taylor Hendricks finally starts to get minutes in the NBA. Just gets absolutely snapped there, face first into Colin Sexton. And we got to give credit to PG here, man. Look at this. He goes down. It was so crazy. Gets back up, hits the shot. That is nasty. And that's not where it ends for PG this week, because PG was going to work again, man. He's got Emo on him. Emo playing his phenomenal defense as he always does, but PG's like, let me have this dance, touch earth, bucket game right there. Obviously 7 seconds left, but they ended up winning that. That ended up being the game winner for him. But PG just, man, y'all don't understand what kind of handles this guy has for being 6'8". PG's really that dude, and he's been doing so much this year to really step into kind of a role, an all-star role player role. He just does what's asked of him. He goes, gets in buckets. He goes and just becomes a floor spacer at times. He can just be a defender for this team. Paul George does it all for them, man. Shout out Paul George. Next thing to talk about, the Celtics clinched the 1 seed. Yeah, so the Celtics are the number 1 seed. They just look like the best team in basketball right now, as you can see by the records. Being 62-16 right now, the next best team is 54-24. Celtics are on one, man. I mean, they've got 7 people that are damn near all-stars on this team. It's incredible, the team that they've put together. Extremely, extremely talented, and they're going to be a tough out. They're going to be the favorites in the East. The question is going to be, when it comes down to these close games with teams like the Nuggets or maybe the Clippers or whoever, are they going to be able to finish it? But man, as far as talent goes, it's the Celtics. Lakers have also been winning as of late. The more veteran teams have kind of been kicking it up a gear as of late. They did lose last night, right? Yeah, they lost last night, I believe, to the Timberwolves. So shout out the Timberwolves for maintaining and actually reclaiming the first spot in the West. But Lakers have been 8-2 in their last 10, and they've been crawling their way up, making sure they don't fall out of that play-in, and they could work their way into this Kings-Pelicans series here still. And but if they played the Warriors in a winner-go-home type thing, that'd be must-see TV. But yeah, Lakers are on one right now. Let's talk about the ultimate tank job that has been going on in Toronto. Toronto has just been like losing. They were on a 15-game losing streak pretty much since the deadline, and they ended up beating Milwaukee of all people. And Milwaukee's its own thing that we can talk about later, but they are increasing their odds so much to make sure that they keep their pick, because I know there's like a stipulation that pick can go to San Antonio this year, which would be crazy if San Antonio had 2 lottery picks. But like Toronto is trying hard to make sure that they're getting some sort of lottery pick this year, man. And I think it becomes like 2 second-round picks if it doesn't convey this year. But man, like I don't know, like the team shouldn't be this bad. It really shouldn't. Like it's got plenty of quality players on there, but I don't know, man. They don't look great right now. Joel Embiid returned this week as well, and he had a couple of good games, I believe. Let me find Joel Embiid here. Yeah, since coming back, he had a 24-point game, a 29-point game, and a 30-point game, which in Joel Embiid standards maybe isn't even all that crazy for what he was doing earlier this year. And for those of you that don't remember for whatever reason, Joel Embiid was going to win MVP again this year. He was far and away the best player before he got hurt. Now he's back. He's hooping. He's definitely out of shape right now, but I mean, why wouldn't you be after all that? It's so hard to get back into basketball shape. But, you know, Sixers have been winning. Like, they've been winning competitive games. I know they beat the Thunder when they didn't have Shea and J-Dub, but, like, still, like, they're out there. They're winning games right now. So, like, what does this mean for them in the playoffs? How good could they be with a lineup of, like, who are you throwing out there? You got Maxey, you got Heald, maybe Kyle Lowry's out there as well. Tobias Harris, you got Kelly Oubre. Like, it's not a bad team. It's not a great deep team or whatever. They have Embiid at the end of the day, but he's also kind of one of the easier game plans. I hate to say that because he's so talented, but he is. Like, his game is pretty repetitive, and so that's why in the playoffs people struggle, or they struggle a little bit more, just because it is kind of easy to game plan for him. So what can the Sixers do to kind of shake things up a little bit in the playoffs? I don't know. Who would they be playing as of right now? So they're in the play-in currently, and they'd be playing the Miami Heat, which is by no means an easy game, and you should be terrified to play the Heat in the playoffs, right? Especially when they're underdogs. We all know that story. But then even if they make it out, they got to play like the Bucks or something like that. Like, they just don't have any length to like guard Giannis or anything like that. So I don't know how they accomplish that, but I mean, they're at least better off with Embiid on the court, so good for them. All right, last 2 things. Julius Randle's out for the season. That's really, really unfortunate. I made a whole video about it. You guys can go watch that if you want to. But the Knicks are still really good. They're still really deep. They're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. I think with Randle, they were actually probably title contenders if they could figure out how to really use Alec Burks and get like Bojan going as well. But without him, it's, I don't know. I don't think it's looking too good for our Knicks. Where are the Knicks at right now? They are at the 4 seed, and like they're still winning games. That's awesome, but in a series with Cleveland, that's going to be a great series. I feel like they've matched up quite a bit as of late, and it's always been a little scrappy. But man, losing Randle, like that's an all-NBA talent right there. That's just a tough one to come back from, as good as Jalen Brunson's been playing. All right, let's talk about this last one with Doc Rivers, and I'm literally just going on Google, typing in Doc Rivers news. Like, you just see downfall of Doc Rivers with the Bucks is happening right now. Like, he's calling out the team already. I saw a report just before I started this that they're already having meetings with, like, the top players to be like, okay, what do we need to change? Yeah, these veteran players. So here's the thing. Here's my thought with Doc Rivers and everything. I know it's easy to like criticize him and everything. Doc Rivers historically is pretty good at like managing players and everything, and actually being like a leader. That's what he's known for. And I actually have a connection to Doc via some family. So I've had interactions. I like Doc a lot. Great dude. I think he is a good basketball coach. I think the X's and O's sometimes maybe aren't like his strong suit and everything, but that's his thing. Like, you bring him in to manage the star players that should be able to win a lot of these things, but you still need the strategy side of it. As far as him like calling out the team, I don't think we should be like offended by that. Like, I personally, when I played and like when I've coached, I'm like, if you're calling people out, like they shouldn't just like take it as like hate or whatever. It's like, hey, we all want to do better. We're all on the same team. So I don't know. I don't really like when people are like, oh, he's throwing the team under the bus. It's his fault too. I'm like, he's not saying it's not like his fault all the time. I know he's kind of insinuated that, but like, if you get called out, like maybe you just aren't working that hard. Like, I bet you not everybody is working that hard. So, you know what? Like, I'd take that as a challenge if I was a player, and I'd be like, let's go turn this shit around and like, let's see what I can do, right? What do I have to do? How do I work harder? And that's how I take it. That's how I think pros should take it as well. But I don't know. Doc Rivers is under a lot of scrutiny, and they're 15-16 with him as the coach right now, which is pretty rough. I know defensively they've gotten better, but offensively they've like completely fallen off now, so I don't know. They still haven't been able to figure out like the Giannis Dame pick and roll either, which we all just figured would be like the nastiest thing in basketball, and for whatever reason it doesn't work. So I don't know, man. We gotta figure that out. But anyway, let's talk about the players that I really liked watching this week. Some special shout outs. Jordan Poole has been hooping recently. At least he's been getting more buckets. He's still doing a lot of really dumb plays as well, but at least he's like putting up respectable numbers for his contract at this point. Another Wizards player, Tristan Vucevic, I believe it's pronounced Vucevic. Rookie second round pick for them. They basically have no other healthy center, so he's gotten to play, and he's had some pretty solid games for them. Jaden Ivey's been hooping as of late. It's about time he started getting some better minutes. Jalen Green's still been hooping. Jalen Brunson just every week is the best point guard in the NBA. It is what it is at this point. That's just how good he is. He's just constantly putting the Knicks on his back and just playing great fundamental basketball. I love it. Luka Doncic been doing Luka Doncic things. If you go to a Mavericks game at this point, you're getting to see a show. And then Micic for Charlotte is like quietly just like getting double doubles like every week. You'll end up with like 13 points and like 11 assists like every night. So just shout out Micic, man, for trying to make Brandon Miller's life a little bit easier. But anyway, the three players I really liked watching this week, Kyrie Irving, he was just putting on show after show after show this week, especially last night when he put up 48 or whatever. It's just pure basketball. Watching Kyrie play, and I know he's probably the best, like, maybe isolation player ever, but he's one of those dudes where you look and those guys that say, like, oh, the NBA doesn't play defense. I'm like, it's because they're going up against guys like fucking Kyrie Irving. How do you guard this dude? Like, I probably have the video down here. How do you guard this guy? What are you supposed to do? And man, it is just so much fun watching him play basketball. But Brandon Miller, also just quietly having a phenomenal like back half to his rookie season. Like he was shooting like 80-something% for a little streak here and like it's like threes mostly, and like getting to the bucket. He was struggling to finish at the beginning of the year. He's been finishing a lot better. And the Hornets only run like 2 plays for him. There's like a pin down play, and I saw them run like an Iverson action play like once or twice or something like that. So Brandon Miller's just doing it basically all on his own, and there was a reason I said that I liked him more than Scoot. That's no hate against Scoot. I like Scoot a lot as well, but I was like, Brandon Miller's going to be a really, really good basketball player. And so Charlotte, y'all got a good one. And then the last one, I don't have him highlighted on here because my system didn't detect it as an elite player, but Javonte Green is back on the Bulls, and all my Bulls fans know that he's the best player on this team. Javonte Green is just like a little ball of energy that looks like DaBaby, and just he flies up and down the court and dunks on everybody. He plays elite defense. I couldn't comprehend why he wasn't on an NBA roster this year. I've told so many of my NBA friends about that. They're like, oh, I don't know. And he finally gets brought back onto the Bulls, and he's just an instant difference maker. He's like a TJ McConnell type, where it's like not every game he's going to have like crazy numbers, but he's always making a huge impact. So y'all go watch some Javonte Green highlights, man. I love that dude. But anyway, that was this week in the NBA, or this last week in the NBA. I don't know what I call this series, man, but make sure you like, subscribe. We're almost to 1,000. Let's get to 1,000, and then I promise I'll stop begging you guys so much for things, because then I've already hit my goal, and that's awesome. But seriously, thank you guys so much. Leave a comment. Let me know what you really liked watching in the NBA recently, or if you're just watching college and waiting for the playoffs. But until then, we'll see you guys next week.